Hi everyone, Danny Bader here, and I'm excited to welcome you back to yet another episode of our podcast, 11 Minutes to Inspiration, where we offer you information, some interviews with some really cool people, and simply observations for your consideration that are all designed to support you in being inspired to continue creating a happy and fulfilling life. Because after all, that's why we're here, right? All right, hi everybody, and welcome to another session of 11 Minutes to Inspiration. I am very excited today to have a conversation with a guy that I've just gotten to know a little bit now, Dean McMurray. I met his wife years ago when I was out in Fargo, North Dakota doing some work. So Dean, nice to see you finally and chat a little bit more. How you doing?
Yes, I'm doing excellent, Danny. Thanks for having me on.
Good, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we'll get more into what you do, but right now, just kind of give the viewers and the listeners right now a quick overview of who's Dean McMurray.
You know, I'm just a small town kid from northern Minnesota. I'm a dad, husband, dog owner, and I'm just a really normal guy. A lot of people, when we get into my work, try to feel that I'm maybe way out there, but I just feel that I'm just still that small town kid trying to help other people.
Got it. Cool. And so you were in the armed forces, right? In the Army?
Yep, that's correct. So I forgot to mention veteran, yeah.
Right. And thank you for your service. How many years did you serve?
A total of 24 years.
24 years. Got it. Cool. And you have some children?
Yes, I do. Two.
Two children. Cool. All right, great. So tell us what you're kind of doing right now in terms of your work. It's real interesting.
It's not the normal 9 to 5.
Yeah.
No, I'm a psychic medium. I'm also known as the military medium.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it was something that I didn't ask for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think we talked a little bit, but it was something that I had planned when I was looking at retirement. I actually had plans on working for the local VA.
Okay.
And so I had it all mapped out, and the universe for sure, I think, was having a little chuckle at my expense.
Yeah. The universe can do that sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's what you're doing now. And I saw your website. So the psychic medium. I mean, tell us how did you? Number one, what is a medium? Because as you said, it's not your typical 9 to 5. I'm sure you deal with it when you tell people what you do. As soon as we hear psychic medium, people's minds are going all over the place probably. So what is it that you do? How do you describe your job, career, gift?
Sure. So that's a great question. Well, first and foremost, a medium is an individual that is able to connect to and communicate with those that have crossed over.
Okay.
And psychic, really, they're two different realms. One, psychic, meaning talking about perceiving energy and reading stuff. If you think of giving somebody future, what's your future and past and current, mm-hmm. and all that great stuff. You think affairs and that type of thing.
Sure.
Right, but together it's really, psychic medium is somebody to kind of put the whole package together, and not only to be able to connect to the spirit world and be able to bring back validation through messages in that message form for the individual, your client, but the thing is bring about a deeper level of healing that you normally would get. And that's really, for me, what it's about. It's about helping others heal. And now I've been taking it one step farther, because obviously what I do is help people heal, mm-hmm. but also empowering individuals and saying that I'm a big believer that you don't need a psychic and you don't need a medium. And where I'm really trying to encourage people to step into their intuition and mm-hmm. different things. So, try to embrace that, so enhance their life and the people that around them.
Right. So it's really them moving through the transition of where they've lost a loved one.
Right.
Yeah, cool. That's the inspirational part, right? And it's funny because inspiration is in spirit. So it's really kind of connected to what we're talking about here. So you wouldn't then predict somebody's future for them. It's not like they come to you and tell me what's going to happen in my life. Am I going to get married? When am I going to die? Any of those kinds of things.
Well, there's certain questions that are kind of off limits anyways, as far as you mentioned, when am I going to die, those type of things. However,
sure.
In this work, do I have people that ask me future questions? Yes, I do all the time. Do
Sure.
I give some of them? Yes, but it's kind of one of those things saying, here's the deal. The future is always changing because it's based upon what you do or do not do in the given moment.
Great.
You're always, I shouldn't use the word hate, but I caution them against saying, don't write the end of your book right now.
Sure.
It's always being rewritten.
Sure.
And saying, so a lot of people say, oh my God, that's it. No, it's not it.
Right.
Saying you have the ability and the power to continually rewrite your book or rewrite your life.
Right.
And if you don't like the way it's going, then, pick up the pen, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. And that's all about a big part of the work that I do is the vision, right? The ability to imagine what needs to be real. And I think that's really cool. Well, you and I chatted a little bit, and certainly from reading some of my books, and in my most recent book, I Met Jesus for a Miller Lite, there is a strong theme in there that there's a fine line between here and there. And I define here as the earthly world, 54 years old, 6 foot, 170 pounds, 75 pounds or whatever. And there, where when I had my death experience, my belief is there was an energy in me that makes me go. It's not my heart and it's not my brain. They contribute to it, but there's another energy that makes me go. That left my body, and I was joined with the greater source of that I believe to be God. And then for some reason, I guess God, maybe she has a sense of humor. She sent me back, and I'm just doing the work that I'm doing here, like you, to try to serve people. So it's cool. Any stories you could kind of share with our viewers and listeners that may inspire them to heal, to not be maybe so scared of death, and
Sure.
maybe to understand or believe really that there is something after this physical world and our bodies stop working.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a couple that I would love to share with you and your listeners. And,
Sure.
And the first being is really how I got into this. Like I shared, is I have planned to go to work for the local VA.
Right.
Like a very natural transition. I had it all mapped out, 24 years of military service, maybe serve another 10, 20. I'll be in my early, maybe 60s. I'll have the world by the, by the cuff, and I'll have her good. And like I shared, I think God or the universe was having a chuckle at my expense. And what happened was I had just gotten back from Kosovo. We're talking, this was back in 2010.
Right.
Kind of setting the stage for you is my son was just a newborn. And we were living in a different residence at the time, and I got back, and all these what I call paranormal activities started happening. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by paranormal activity is pictures started flying off the walls, clocks, and Danny, I was not open to talking about, if I was to open one of your books probably back then, even talking about, you write it in such a nice way of talking about spirit and stuff like that maybe it doesn't approach that. I call it the woo-woo factor.
Sure,
But, the thing is, I probably would have kind of gone, well, I don't know about that. I wasn't open. And so my wife had confided in me that she had a psychic over to the home when I was deployed. And I said, well, you need to get this voodoo chick over here. And because that's my language. And so basically, I kind of blew her off, this psychic, and because she's telling me my grandfather's there, and I wasn't in a space to receive it.
Right. Yeah.
Long story short is fast forward a couple weeks, and the activity wasn't slowing down; it was picking up. And I was washing bottles around midnight because my son was again a newborn. And I kept on having this sensation of somebody behind me, like, that creeped out factor. And I kept on turning around, and I can't see anybody physically. but I knew that it was my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, who passed in the 80s.
Wow.
And I was like, how do I know that?
Right.
And it was like two sides of me.
And you were the only one in the kitchen. You were the only one there.
Right.
And her spirit, her presence. Yeah. Wow.
Right. Yeah, I could totally feel it. And it was what I understand now is my claircognizance kicked in going, it's grandma, hello. And I went to bed that night. Knowing that she was there. And basically my ego kind of popped up saying, you know what, Dean, you just need to put this, out of your mind. You're making it up. You're scared, whatever.
Yeah.
How about you just have her touch you? And grandma wasn't there to disappoint. She gently but firmly pushed me into the mattress.
Wow.
And it was something that was so visceral, Danny, that I couldn't dismiss it.
No.
I could hear the springs compress. I could feel the weight. And my wife, who, God bless her, she does not ever sleep deeply, and of course is the mother of a newborn.
Sure.
She is snoring away like she hasn't slept in years.
Right.
And after the experience, I'm covered in sweat. I'm sitting up.
Right.
And I have to wake her up out of this deep sleep, and I'm saying, there's somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
And she's thinking somebody's breaking in. And I said, no, there's somebody in spirit. And she's like, how do you know that? And I said, I know, right? I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah.
But it was something that I couldn't dismiss. It didn't matter what anybody said or tried to debunk.
Sure.
I felt it. I knew it.
Right. And it was a good feeling, an easy feeling.
It was. It wasn't something that was. It wasn't trying to hurt me. It was trying to awaken me.
Sure.
And from that moment, or from that day on, as I continued to transition, if you will, I tried to understand what was going on with it. Mm-hmm. And again, I reached out to that psychic that came over to the home, and went to several of her classes, and she's saying, well, don't you understand, your grandmother's trying to tell you that you're a medium? And I think I probably called her a few colorful names. And she said, you know what? You
didn't major in that in college, right? I didn't major in medium in college. Right? I did ecology or something. Oh,
right. I was still from that. I was still in that alpha male logical regulation world of the military, because you have to understand, I was still serving as a full-time soldier. So
sure.
Once I started embracing being a medium, that label, it was quite literally Dean the soldier by day and Dean the medium by night.
Wow.
And it was something that I didn't want. I didn't want it. I was trying to push it away, but it wouldn't go away.
Wow.
But what I want to add with this is really important, because not only was it a gift that I learned to embrace, but it was when I retired. Now we're coming up on the 5th year of my retirement in May. Is when I retired, there was a government shutdown. So we're talking back, we're going back about 2013. And around May, around there, they had a government shutdown. And guess what? It was right about the time that my full-time pay and the retirement pay was supposed to pick up.
Right.
And guess what happened? Dean fell through the cracks, and there was no money. And guess what also happened? Now, Marilyn, my wife, she all of a sudden she was working outside the home as well.
Sure.
She had to come home on workman's comp or whatever because of stress-induced craziness, basically. And so there was no income coming in.
Wow, yeah.
And I kept on going, what are we supposed to do? Do I need to go outside the home and pick up a job? I don't care. Do we, and it was a level of trust that really kind of freaked me out, to be really quite honest, because I kept on getting a resounding no. Do not go outside the home to work. Keep on doing what you're here to do. Keep on reaching out to people and help them one person at a time.
Yep.
And I'm like, really? there's no retire, and I'm like, you're looking at a really tight pocketbook over here and saying,
Sure.
boy, and it was that leap of faith, Danny.
Good.
And that's where, I think we all come to it at some point in our life. It's a big cliff.
Sure.
And sometimes we choose to jump and sometimes we're pushed.
Right.
And it's like, boy, I don't see any net. There's no financial, I don't know what's going to happen. Are we going to lose the home? And
sure.
It was so crazy, the stuff that showed up for us that manifested to support us along the way.
Right.
And then one thing, and it was like, I don't know, what was it, a couple weeks or whatever, or maybe 2-3 weeks, and then they reinstated the government. The government budget was re-signed or whatever. But and everything reinstated, and it was like, are you serious? Boy, that was a big, and it was a really test of our resolve, of our faith, and what we're supposed to be doing.
Sure.
And it was something that was really scary. And, I hear this over and over again with other people and saying, I get it.
Yeah.
So number one, that was a big, stepping into something that I didn't want to do. I didn't want the gift.
Yeah.
But it was almost like God saying, you are this.
Yeah.
You will do this.
Yeah.
And guess what? Guess what? We're going to also test your faith at the same time. It's
wow. God has a way of knocking on our door a few times, and then if we don't answer, I think he kind of kicks it in.
Right. Yes.
I think you and I both share that experience. But it's cool that you talk about trust, because a lot of times in my work, I get people to try to replace hope with trust. I hope it's going to work out, and hope kind of for me is a passive energy. We don't have much control over that. Trust for me is much more intentional. Here's what I want. I trust it's going to work out, and kind of here's what we're doing for it. And I always say to people, in our money, it doesn't say in God we hope, right? It says in God we trust. So I love the fact that you use that. How about one story maybe where you felt that your gift really moved somebody through the loss and the grief and the pain process? You got a quick story for us on that?
I absolutely do.
You can kind of keep it anonymous.
Oh, yep. And absolutely. And it was actually around Christmas one year. I can't even remember the year, but we had just put down the kids for the evening, and that whole day, by this time in my development, feeling spirits and sensing things in our home. It's just almost like a subway station at times. People's spirits come in and
things like pictures off the wall, like physical objects moving.
Oh, no, it's now it's more
but back then you experienced that.
What's that?
Back then you experienced the pictures moving.
Oh yeah. In my initial experience, but now it's more
get Dean's attention.
Spirits here.
Right. Wow. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And but one of the things that I kept on sensing spirit around all day, and it was like, well, I know you're here, and we kept on going about the day. But at the end of the day, Marilyn and I had put the kids down to bed, and we were sitting chatting, and of course we have our Christmas tree up in our home, and I said, "Who's the spirit that's hanging out all day?" And she said, "I know. I've been feeling somebody." And I just took a little bit of time, and I started describing this young male, and I saw him there with flip-flops on. You think of the average, 8-9-year-old, and scruffy-haired kid, just a good-looking summer attire, shorts and T-shirt, and messy hair. And my wife started crying, and I was like, what's the matter? And she was like, I know who that is. Well, it turns out that she had a friend. I didn't know this. We had been married several years, and she never shared, is that she had a friend growing up that committed suicide, and at a very, very young age. And she was like, that is totally this guy. And I was like, and she was like, what does he want? And so he was talking to me. And I said, well, he's missing Christmas. and he's talking about his family, and he pointed to the tree and he goes, "I like your angel." And I go, "What angel?" And he was kind of between the banister and the tree. Kind of got to wedge yourself in there. So I physically got up, like he's like saying, "Hey, come over here, I'll show you."
Mm-hmm.
And so I go over and look at the tree, Danny, and here there was a crystal clear angel playing a harp. And I don't know if you're like most folks, but I pretty much remember almost every ornament that was either given or the kids made or we made. You have some vague idea.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at that, but my wife is
right.
very good.
It's not right. So I pulled it up.
And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and here's the deal: is I pulled it up and I was like, I don't remember this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was brand new.
Mm.
And so I was like, so I held it up to my wife and I said, "Do you remember getting this angel?" And she goes, "I have never seen that."
Mm.
And I was like, "Well, this isn't ours. This isn't for us." And she's like, "Who is it for?" Well, we have friends that live north of where we live,
mm-hmm.
and I'll call them the Shakers, okay?
Yeah.
And John and Mary Shaker lost their child through childbirth.
Mm.
And it was obviously very traumatic for them.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, "We're supposed to send it to John and Mary." And she was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Well, quite honestly, what the hell do I write?" She was like, "Do I just throw it in an envelope?" Or she said, "No, just say a friend told me to send it to you. And, love what Marilyn and Dean." And she said, okay. So she got a bubbler mailer and put all that stuff in there. And it sat on the end table in the hallway for a good week. And it was one of those things, hey, can you mail this? And end up forgetting to mail it. And finally, she saw it and she was like, "I thought the argument, I thought you mailed this." And saying, "Well, I didn't. I thought you were going to mail it." So it was a little bit of contention. Yeah. And I said, "I'll go down right now and mail it." So I took time out of that evening and ran down, threw it in the mailbox. About a week later, we got it, or Marilyn got an email. Mm-hmm. Mary Shaker saying, "Oh my God, you don't know, I just got your gift or your package. You don't know how much this means to us." What happens every year for them is the hospital in their area does a memorial service for the children that have passed away.
Yeah.
And since the passing of their child in childbirth, they had since had two beautiful children. Mm-hmm. And of course, because of school commitments and I think it was a concert or something like that, they couldn't attend the memorial service. And it was really bugging them.
Sure.
And so kind of a sad and somber time, but at the same time, they were happy to go to their children's event. Sure. They got home, and guess what was laying against that door? Was that package with the angel sitting in it on the day of the memorial for their child that they had lost. And so one of the things I was like, I told when Marilyn read me the email, and she wrote a big email about how there's angels on earth and thanking us, of course. And I said, and I immediately got goosebumps from my head to my feet. And I said, that's the stuff. That's why we're here. That is the stuff that fills me up. And I said, that tells me that to trust the divine timing. Sure. And I said, if that doesn't give you validation, that there is a higher power, because how would, we think that, Dean forgot to mail the angel and, oh my God, we need to get it to him. Yeah. For whatever reason, God, the universe had a plan saying, no, if you mail it now, it won't mean as much. Yeah. But if you mail it on this day, guess what? It's going to get there at the perfect time when they need it the most. It's not about you. Right. It's about them. Right. And that's the thing. And so, that is and I shared with Meryl, I said, that's the stuff that Hallmark movies are made of.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And,
you know what? That I had some like hair standing up on me here as well, a little bit, a lot of hair standing up on me. But you know what you talk about, and it is so cool. There's in the book, my new book, there's a quote. It says, "Coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous."
Yeah.
I think it was Einstein that said it. But I was in a workshop 2 weeks ago, first time in this company, 120 people. I shared my own journey. I talked about how I was very close to taking my own life. And I later played a video totally about something else, where a Billy Joel video that kind of tees up this discussion around beliefs and mindset. And this woman comes up to me at the end, who I saw come in initially, and I just looked and I thought, oh, I don't know if she's going to be so engaged here. She just kind of had an energy about her. And, you know, she came up to me and she could hardly even speak. And she told me about her husband, her ex-husband, who had taken his own life, and she was struggling. Billy Joel was one of his favorite artists. And my story with that and the Billy Joel, and I just hugged her. And she said, I just feel now like he's okay. And I said, he is, you know, he is. Wow. So you're doing some great work, man. Before we kind of wrap up right now, you know, as you know how I roll, I certainly know that there's a place after this. I'll call it heaven. No hurry to get there again. I love my life. I love my kids and all. But I trust that there is. And I have felt people, spirits, you know, over the years just kind of reassure me that they're okay, or that, you know, that I need to keep moving through a tough time in my life. So anything, as you and I'm in Philly and you're in North Dakota, anything showing up for you around me that maybe I can hear?
Well, absolutely, Danny. You know, really quick for you is I do get a male that steps forward on your father's side of the family. One of the first things I keep on getting shown is a guitar associated with him. And it's not, and he's making it very specifically that it's a bass guitar. So I'm understanding that that either he was a bass player or he really liked the blues or something. But I'm feeling that vibe with him. I see him as a taller gentleman. I put him at a good 6 foot, if maybe not a little bit bigger, and a bigger frame gentleman. So his hands would have been dwarfed mine, and just a really what I would call the gentle giant. But at the same time, you know, and I also feel is that going back to this guitar analogy is almost where it would almost look very small on him. So it feels there was a point of contention or a joke. And then also jumping over on the mom's side of the family, I do get a female, and it's really interesting because I'm understanding that she would have passed, it feels like, she would have passed in her late 80s, early 90s, and just a real spitfire. Now, what's very interesting with her is that I keep on getting her associated with aircraft or aviation. So it feels like she was a very big pioneer in that field or in that area. So, and it also feels, if I'm understanding her correctly, is that where she come from a very, if you will, a very influential line or family lineage. The other thing that I'm also getting with that lineage with her is that she would have served at some capacity is like either a lobbyist or something within a government, local or regional government structure, if you will. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. My mom's, I don't know, there might be something there. Yeah, but my dad, when you talk about his side, you know, my dad's father died early. I never knew him. And there was only just a picture of him, and he was always a gentleman. He worked at a haberdashery store.
Okay.
He was a drummer, a musician.
Okay.
So when I think bass, you know, the bass and the drummer, because my brother Eddie's a drummer, they're always looking at the bass player because they need to be locked in there.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know him. I mean, he died when I was a year or so. Anything he wants to tell me or say to me?
You know, the biggest thing for you, Danny, is this, you know, first and foremost, love and support, you know, and obviously being so proud of all your accomplishments. But the thing that he does talk about, and I know that you just launched this book not that long ago. However, he shows me a bunch of irons, if you will. And he's saying that you got a lot of other irons in the fire. And the thing that he talks about, and he shows me a big curtain, and he's saying that you got something being unveiled very soon. So it feels like a really big project. And it feels very good. Now, the other thing that he talks about is you getting ready. It feels like within this month still, or possibly early next, it feels like where you're getting ready to travel again as far as movement for you. So just understand that a lot of great, more connections, a lot more healing through not only what you do, but what you're sharing. So
cool. That is good. That makes some sense for me.
Good.
Smile, man.
Beautiful.
This is really good. So let's do this, Dean. I appreciate your time, and I think the listeners really have found this interesting and valuable, and I'm sure it's touched all of them in some way. What 2 or 3 things would you say to the folks that are watching or listening in, just about life and the other side, and about our wonderful journey?
Beautiful. The first thing I would share is know that you're loved. If you're really struggling, know that you're loved and you're supported. And we're all gifted. I don't want anybody to think, oh my God, that, one individual has all the power. I think we were talking earlier about empowerment and understanding. I get so excited when I see other people step into their power and define their actual gifts. So you think of, that teacher moment when you see the light bulb go on and saying, oh my God, I found, and you see that excitement.
Sure.
And it's like, wow, go share that energy and that light with the world.
Right.
That is infectious.
Yes.
And that's what we need more of.
Yes.
And so, the biggest thing is just really, just trying to bring a sense of calm and peace within your own inner chaos, if you will, of life. Sometimes it looks like, but understand that, it doesn't have to be complicated. Start where you are.
Right.
And go from there.
Cool. That is good, man. That is really good. So as Dean, as we spend our time together here, I just talked to the audience real quick that, a couple things to consider. You just summed up great that we are loved. We all have a gift, our own energy, and that will fade out of this life at some time. But until then, just lead with love is one of the sayings that I like to use in your own little space. And that if we all start there to make this world a better place, we're doing good work. We're doing God's work. Sound good. Dean, it was wonderful to chat with you, man. I wish you all the best. Keep doing all that great work. Give your wife a hug from me. And I think we'll stay in touch for sure.
All right, I will, my friend. Thank you so much.
You got it. Take care, Dean.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us for another episode of 11 Minutes to Inspiration. I thought it was just great. I had a really good time doing this one. I'll trust you gained value and insight as you continue to create and harness the tremendous power of inspiration. And as always, I'm wishing you much happiness and fulfillment on this wonderful journey called life.